two petitions here tonight, and Catherine will explain kind of all three of them, as well as go into some of our rights in the Constitution. Will be speaking as well, and then we have some state reps that we're going to give some time to as well, and then hopefully get you guys to sign up for some small group circles and do some research on different subjects. So that's our agenda, so you know. Can you guys hear me okay? I don't want to yell too much. Can you guys hear me any better now?
Is there a volume on the external speaker?
Hey, does the other one work?
Okay, well, my voice has been really cutting out today, so this doesn't get any louder. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Set it on chair.
I might have, but wasn't on.
No, it's a different
one.
Oh. Is this one louder?
Yes! Thank you.
Can you guys hear me any better now?
Yes.
Okay. As you can probably imagine, being pretty much the only attorney who's been in Michigan explaining how all this crap has been illegal and unconstitutional, my phone's been ringing off the hook, well, since April. But certainly since last Thursday when the governor announced her lovely newest executive order. So, my voice might cut out because it's been doing that all day. So I'm going to try to hang in there and explain stuff to you. So with the three petitions, which I didn't know I was going to be talking about, so I'm going to do this off the top of my head and make sure I get it all straight. Each of the three petitions is, they're all going in the same direction, but they're each doing something a little bit different. So the recall petition to recall Governor Whitmer is, it would be, if we get enough signatures on that, I say we, it's not my petition, but if we get enough signatures on that, it would simply put a special election question on the ballot that would say, should Gretchen Whitmer be removed from the office of governor, yes or no? We don't get a normal recall like a lot of people would assume, where we get to have somebody else run against her. The Constitution, our state Constitution, Article 5, Section 26 says that when you recall the governor, or when the governor leaves office for any reason, she resigns, she dies, she's impeached, she's recalled, it's treated differently than any other type of recall situation. So any of you who've been experienced in recalls, this is not the same kind of thing. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. In fact, I know that there are other people out there. In fact, Chad Bossy, who has the approved petition for the recall, is, my understanding is he's working on language to recall the Lieutenant Governor, possibly the Secretary of State, and the AG as well.
Yeah!
Aside from the fact that all of them deserve to go, it's important that they do, because if we recall the governor, Article 5, Section 26 says the Lieutenant Governor gets to automatically take that spot. If the Lieutenant Governor is not available, then it goes to the Secretary of State. If she's not available, it goes to the Attorney General. Clearly, those are not good choices, right? So why go through all that work? It's a step in the right direction, especially if we're going to be able to get the recall done for all of those individuals. So it needs a lot of signatures. I want to say the petition I wrote needs 10% of all the people who voted in the last gubernatorial election for all candidates. And the 10% number is 425,059. I've said that number like 7 million times, so I got that down cold. For the recall, they need 2.5 times as many signatures to get it on the ballot. So you can do the math. I can't right now. I've been hot and thinking all day, and my office is terribly hot. So I won't do the math for you. I'm an attorney anyway, not a doctor or a mathematician. But It's going to be a lot of signatures, but quite frankly, I think it's probably going to happen, right? We just got to make sure that grassroots efforts across the state are organized and communicating and moving in the same direction. So that's the basics of the recall. Then you have the repeal 1945. I don't know why we all had to have an re at the beginning of repeal, recall, restore freedom. We should have planned that a little bit better, I guess. But the repeal 1945 petition is out there again, going in the same direction, but it's one piece of the puzzle, right? Just kind of like the recall would be one piece of the puzzle. Recall would be one piece of that puzzle. So what they are trying to do with that is to repeal the 1945 Emergency Powers of Governor Act, where the governor in press releases, in news conferences, is saying, well, this is the source of my power to do these executive orders. However, if you look at the documents that her attorneys have filed in court in the legislature's lawsuit against her, as well as other lawsuits, because there's many against her right now, she knows that that's not the only source of her power. In fact, if I would have known I was going to be speaking on that, I could have brought some stuff to actually tell you verbatim some of the things. But I have done a lot of Facebook Live videos about it, post a lot of stuff on the RestoreFreedomMI.com website, so please feel free to check there. And I'll continue to try to do, in fact, it's on my to-do list, my 5-mile-long to-do list, to do another video specifically talking about these 3 petitions when I have all the resources in front of me and can quote stuff for you. But they, basically, our laws in Michigan do require any laws on the same point, and this is common with every state, but every law on the same point, you have to read them together. You can't go and drive a car and say, well, today I'm going to abide by the seatbelt law, but I am not going to pay attention to that speed limit law. It doesn't matter to me. That's not how it works. That's not how it works for a governor. It's not how it works for us. For some really bizarre reason, apparently everyone else who has taken an oath to uphold the U.S. and Michigan constitutions and hold people accountable has simply forgotten that here in Michigan, and they think that she can just do whatever she wants. She can't. We had a court of claims courts say that that's how it works, but the Court of Appeals has yet to decide, and the Supreme Court has yet to decide. I will tell you, though, that the Supreme Court of Michigan has, when they said, you know what, we're not going to hear the case now, we're going to send it back to the Court of Appeals, the justices were very clear about a lot of things in there. They know that the rights of 10 million people in Michigan are being impacted on a scale that we've never seen before. They recognize that. And I wish I would have brought some of that language with me here today to share with you, because it's amazing. I think the court is going to do right by us when it finally gets to them, but unfortunately they're making us wait for now. So at any rate, what the 1945 repeal will do is take away the power to that one piece of the Emergency Powers of Governor Act. It's just so you guys know, there's still the 1976 Emergency Management Act out there, where she actually gets the main source of authority from. There's actually a lot of horrible things in the 1976 statute that we don't really talk about in the news. We don't talk about anywhere else, and quite frankly, we shouldn't, because if she knew everything that was in there, I'm pretty sure she'd start using it on us. We think the 28 days thing is bad and that she didn't abide by that. She can actually declare a heightened state of emergency under MCL 30.421, which is part of that 1976 law, and that can last for 60 days without the legislature's input. There's a lot of other terrible things. They can take your home and totally in violation, all this is in violation of the Constitution, but they could take your home or commandeer, your business, or require you to perform personal services if you're a carpenter or, a metal worker or whatever, and she deems it necessary to combat COVID-19. They can force you to do all those things and not even necessarily compensate you. The stuff that's in there is insane, but I won't waste your time going into all that. Point being, it's a piece of the puzzle. So if we take away the 1945 Act, great. We should also be going for the 1976 Act right after that. And we should be going after some of the public health code. Again, if I would have known I was speaking on it, I'd bring it with me. But Chapter 333 of our Michigan's codified laws they can actually, and Kent County judges did issue these to some health department officials. Health department officials can go in and say, you know what, this person might be a carrier. Carrier of what? The statute doesn't say. So it certainly can apply to COVID-19. I think this guy right here might be a carrier. I don't know who he is. I don't really have his name. I don't know anything about him, but I saw him cough on the street. Oh, okay, sure, I'll sign this warrant for you. They could arrest you. They could observe you. They could treat you, diagnose you, whatever they want to do. And they could do all that under our public health codes. Nothing to do with emergency management powers whatsoever. They could do all this and not even give you a hearing on the matter for up to 6 days, the way the statute is written. Is anybody talking about that in the news? It's awful. The governor hasn't talked about doing any of that, at least not that I've seen. But that's out there, and those warrants were actually issued in Kent County back in April, I believe. So a whole bunch of blank warrants for people that were not even identified yet, just in case they came across people they thought might have COVID. Because it's so deadly. That's why we're all going to die sitting here. So those are just things that we don't know about yet. I mean, I'm trying to make sure you all know about them. There's a lot of scary stuff on the books that we need to take care of. 1945 has got to go. 1976 statute has got to go. All these other ones have got to go. As long as you guys know, 1945 is the beginning step of that, and then we need to keep moving. That's all I want to make sure you guys know, is we got a long road ahead of us. Don't think it's over, and that you can just sit back and the governor's, got her hands tied as soon as we get rid of the 1945 statute. We still have work out, cut out for us. So that brings me to the third one, which is the Restore Freedom Initiative petition, which of course is my favorite because I wrote it. But it is something that, we all want to do stuff in our own timing, right? I know our governor has been violating our rights from day one. I could tell you that on the evening of March 12th, it was a Thursday, about 11:15, when she declared she was closing schools, and I had been working at a Wyoming public school doing restorative justice 3 days a week, and my youngest child was actually going to school there with me since I was there 3 days a week. And she closed the schools. I am not proud of the words that came out of my mouth. I knew it was bad news, and my husband can attest to the fact that I was one unhappy camper with the whole thing. And I have yet to ever lay eyes physically again on any of the kids that I was working with day in and day out. It's a whole other story. At any rate, try not to answer all the questions about our rights and all that while confusing you while I'm trying to explain the Restore Freedom Initiative. I didn't know it was something I would be writing, but I can tell you that it's something that's needed. And I've been fighting this all along, and when it came to me, quite honestly, this constitutional amendment is something that typically takes, I don't know, 1.5 to 2.5 years. You typically need at least $2-3 million. You have paid circulators, you're out there collecting signatures. You do focus groups, you do all kinds of stuff. You do, it's insane the amount of money that goes into all that stuff, and all the time, all the politics. Well, I'm not for politics. I hate politics. And it wasn't really in my plan. I mean, to be honest, I didn't want to be doing any of this stuff. I just don't take lightly to our Constitution being trampled on or people's rights being, Anyway, so May 22nd, doesn't sound like it was that long ago, does it? May 22nd is when, after a month and a half, 2 months of me praying, you know what, God, just get me, what am I supposed to do? How can I help people? What is my mission? I know I've got to do something. And I was doing one little thing and writing very encouraging letters to our legislators, trying to get them to do the right thing and not issue the first extension, and a variety of other things, right? May 22nd, I finally, okay, Lord, if you don't give me the whole big plan, the whole thing, let me know. I'm going to go insane, because I'm a big picture person. And he laid it out. And that included writing amicus briefs in the legislature's lawsuit against the governor. which I have done. I had the only amicus brief submitted in that case that the Supreme Court of Michigan accepted. So at least the people of Michigan got a voice in one way or another. Educating the public and educating our legislators were two other things on that list. And I'm sure there's something else I'm forgetting. But writing a constitutional amendment was on there. Right. I'm going to write a constitutional amendment. Okay. So I told my college intern that day, hey, can you look this up? This can't be right. It can't be possible. It was possible. And within 7 days, I not only researched everything there is to know in Michigan about doing constitutional amendments, the cases about it, the statutes, the constitutional provisions itself. I wrote it, the whole thing, and then took out half of it because I can't fix everything wrong in Michigan in one constitutional amendment. I have to be realistic. Had a bunch of different people look at it. Only a couple, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 other attorneys. The rest were regular people who are not attorneys, because this is a government by the people, not a government by attorneys, right? So if the average person who's not an attorney couldn't understand what I was doing in there and didn't like it, couldn't read it, whatever, then it needed to not be written that way. And so that's why I didn't rely on just a team of attorneys to work on it with me alone. So what it does is it restores freedom in Michigan, plain and simple, because we need to strip away all the extra stuff that we've allowed for decades to just be piled on, the stuff that we've taken for granted, the stuff that even I thought at the very beginning of this was going to be something that, it's just the way it happens. It's just the way government works. We need to stop accepting that that's just the way government works. So, anyway, I can explain in much more detail for hours and hours probably. Anything about the petition, if you have questions on that, I'd be happy to answer that here or through our website or through my next Facebook Live or anything like that. But just want to tell you that some of the huge things, all the statutes I just mentioned earlier that are a huge big deal, those aren't going to be a problem when our constitutional amendment goes through. I'm just going to put it that way. There's a lot of other things that are not going to be a problem anymore when the constitutional amendment goes through. It's really cute when the little kids clap for me too. But it wasn't in my timing, it was in God's timing. So I wanted it on the ballot for this November. I was confident it needed to be on the ballot this November. It's not my timing though, it's God's timing, so it will be on November 2022, which means we got to work together to get the signatures now, just like we're getting signatures for all those other things. And we can work on the Repeal 1945 petition, and then do a 1976 petition, right? And then all those other things. We can do all that while we're waiting on the other thing, and it'll get people continually engaged and understanding that we can't just be lazy about our rights anymore and let government just take care of us, because we see how well that turns out, right? So hopefully that's enough explanation on the differences between the three, but I am totally happy to answer any questions. So I think just the rights and constitutional rights and masks.
How long do you have now for the
So we have 180 days for the petition, the Restore Freedom Initiative Constitutional Amendment petition. We have 180 days. The very first signature, I will say Kevin Skinner made sure was my own, and that was May 30th. So I found it interesting and just kind of reaffirming to me that this is God's timing and not my own, that the 180th day from that is Thanksgiving. I'm going to try not to get emotional about that because I think that says something, but kind of funny and ironic that we wanted to make sure that we have enough time to go through all these, right? We're going to have well over 400,000 signatures to go through, and we already have well over 100,000 just in our hand that I've touched in my own hands at my house going through and validating. It takes a long time to validate these signatures, and we are going to validate every single signature so they can't play games at the Secretary of State. I'll have every single one of them scanned and organized and categorized, so when they show me the statistical sampling that they're going to take, I will know exactly which ones are good and which ones are not. And well, in theory, they should all be good at that point, right? Because I would have gone through them all. But I'll be able to know which ones they're going to try to pick on and argue about. So anyway, in order to make sure, though, we're going to collect them all the way through. Every 2 weeks, we're going to try to collect them from people. And anybody that's close enough to Hudsonville can always drop them off in my lockable drop box. But we want to make sure that from across the state, we have all of them by 2 weeks before that period, that cutoff. So we have enough time to go through them. We have enough time to organize them, scan them, like I said, get them turned in with a few days grace. So whatever snowstorms we might have, they're not going to stop me from getting there and turning these petitions in time. And the funny thing is, it's actually Friday the 13th then is the deadline. So we went from Thanksgiving to Friday the 13th. Does that answer all the questions about that then, or? About the petition, or do you want me to talk about the masks, or what?
Catherine, I have a question.
What's that?
I'd stand up.
Catherine, I have a question. The warrants you were talking about under the health code, the warrants back in April, is that the same thing as what one of our judges issued, that Kent County order of coming to homes back in April? Or are you talking about something different?
I might be talking about the same thing.
Okay, because I thought that got rescinded, but if you could speak on that a little bit more, because I think that's a little alarming. You were talking about the different warrants that have been issued against the health code and how they could come to your home or business. Just wondering if that's the same thing or different.
Well, when I was talking earlier about that they can come in and basically take over your home or your business or force you to do certain kinds of things, that is under the Emergency Management Act of 1976. And that's just one example of some scary stuff that's in that statute that she hasn't even tapped into yet. So make sure this doesn't end up on ABC, okay? But what you were talking about is, it might be the same thing that I was talking about, and I do believe there might have been something done with those orders that they didn't end up going somewhere. I don't know that for sure. The problem is, we have judges willing to do that in the first place.
Right.
And how long would it take for someone to be able, if it had gotten to the point where somebody is actually picked up off the street and they're not even given notice or opportunity to be heard for at least 6 days or up to 6 days before they even have the hearing? And then if a judge is even willing to do that, well, how unbiased, how fair and impartial is this hearing going to be? So, again, I don't have the statute in front. Those particular statutes are not very long. I mean, they're not long at all. I have talked about them in a couple of videos. I will try to make sure to talk about them. I did a video, I did like 5 Facebook Live videos all in one day. I hate doing Facebook Live videos. Honestly, I hate standing up in front of everybody to talk to right now. But so don't judge me too harshly. But there is a video that I did. It's easiest to describe what I was wearing. It's a white dress with light blue stripes in it. I did 5 videos that day. They were all much shorter than my normal videos. But they, one of them specifically talked about the 3 different petitions. One of them talked about, the one with the petitions talked about those statutes. And I had this stuff right in front of me. So until I get to making more videos that basically go over the same thing, if you can go on restorefreedommi.com and find, you'll see the link for videos. I think it's resources. Where's my husband who can tell me? It's the resources tab.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's, is it called videos after that?
Yeah, it's a link to the YouTube channel.
Which then leads you, yeah, it's a link to the YouTube channel where all my videos are posted. They're still on Facebook too, but the caption of it says something about explaining the 3 petitions, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So obviously it's a team effort on everything I'm doing because I couldn't do any of this without the rest of the people involved, including that handsome man back there. And the older one next to him. No, I'm just kidding. My son is back there too. So. And he's finally taller than me. So. Not that I'm old enough to have a child that tall. Okay, so the masks, is that, or unless there was another question. Okay. So, the masks and our rights. This is actually a really challenging subject. I did do, I want to say it was like Friday night at 1 a.m. into Saturday morning when I finally had enough time, stopped answering questions by phone and text and everything else, that I was able to do a video which is going to be much better at all the information because I had it all at my fingertips. In fact, I went in that video through a lot of the different things that the Supreme Court has recently said, both in the legislature's case against the governor, when the same order where they accepted my amicus brief and they turned down taking the case before the Court of Appeals hears it. In that same order, the order itself is like 4 sentences long, but then each particular judge wrote their own concurring opinion or dissenting opinion. I read some really awesome stuff out of there that you guys need to hear. I didn't bring it with me, I'm sorry. But it's amazing. All the judges, all the justices, not all of them, but most of them talked about how the rights of literally 10 million people are being violated every single day. And one of the justices was talking about how, COVID-19, as it's happening, life in Michigan is still moving on. And we have people and civil liberties dying every day here in Michigan, is how he worded it. There's just some really great things in there that, if you follow that, head out to my YouTube channel and check it out. It's from a week ago today, I guess. There's some really great information in there. So off the top of my head, I guess, let's make this easier. Do you guys have questions? Help me get started, yes.
Why hasn't the legislature impeached her yet?
RJ, behave. Don't act like I can't tell you who you are just with your voice hiding behind that golf cart. So let me hold off on both of those. I want to try to the mask question, right? If that's what you guys really want to know about first. Let me just put it this way. I'm going to try a different angle. I believe it's inherent. I feel like I'm fuzzy right now. I believe it's inherently unconstitutional to force people to wear masks. Okay. The thing is, why would our founders ever think they'd have to put in the Constitution, we have the right to breathe air. We have the right to communicate with people and have fellowship. Why would we have to put those things in there? I don't even have words to put it doesn't make sense, right? And I'll tell you what, I had some appointments that I had to make this week, and I was told amongst, everybody else probably here, well, you can't have that appointment without, well, first of all, they just tried to tell me it's the law to wear a mask no matter what. Well, of course, I was like, first of all, it's not a law. Yeah, they didn't care about that. I'm like, listen, I need this appointment. Can you read the executive order itself? I mean, even the executive order has those exemptions, right, for medical. I actually will say I'm proud or happy or whatever that she's added an exemption in there this time for basically for hearing impaired individuals or people with special needs that need to basically read lips. I'm half deaf. I have one ear that does not work. And I don't know sign language, and I've had hearing aids, but they don't always work and they hurt a lot. I grew up not even, it wasn't until I was almost 9 when my hearing went, so I just kind of learned how to read lips, and most people don't know that about me, that I'm deaf in one ear. So when I go into a store or I have to go to a doctor's office or I have to get any service done at all, and the person is wearing a mask, like we went in to get frozen yogurt the other day, yesterday or the day before, and the guy is trying to give us a hard time about not wearing masks, and I couldn't understand what he's saying because he's wearing a mask, and I'm trying to tell him, listen, I have a medical exemption. It's not your business to even know that in the first place. I'm certainly not going to tell you what my medical exemption is, but there's also an exemption for my husband because I am hearing impaired. And if he's with me, I need to be able to communicate with him. Likewise, I should be able to communicate with you. So if you could take your mask off, that'd be great. And then he just keeps talking to me like I'm supposed to understand him. And I finally look at my husband and say, do you understand what he's saying? Which I don't think my husband was really able to understand much of what he was saying. He kind of assumed, and he's like, I think it's good that we go get the frozen yogurt. So we did. But in the course of all this, though, I had to have a couple of appointments this week where, I'm told this is it's a law, and they don't want to hear that, and I tell them about the exemptions, and so then they're kind of like, well, but you have to have a doctor's note. Does it say that even in her own? If we take the executive order at face value, does it even say that? Nope. It doesn't say they're allowed to even ask. It doesn't say anything that they're doing right now. Now, she's scaring business owners, of course, with all of her tactics, and she's threatening all kinds of things, and I'm trying to tell them one by one, as they call me in a panic, fight this. Fight this, because I will be there to help support you. I obviously can't represent, 10 million people who are fighting this, but I'm going to do everything I can to help as many people as I can to fight this. And the more business owners that stand up, the more individuals that stand up and not take it anymore, that's what it's going to take. And I honestly feel guilty that when I needed this appointment and there was no way around it, I actually called my doctor's office and I said I need a note. I can't believe I'm even admitting that to you guys. I mean, other than I don't lie about things, but I called to get a note to say I don't have to wear a mask. And then I actually found myself having to explain it to the front desk staff. She was wonderful, but the fact that I'm having to explain it to my doctor's office, and I'm like, well, listen, I've only been going there a few years, so you guys probably don't know all the medical conditions that I have, because I don't know that we would have talked about those necessarily. I have a panic attack when my husband in the summer, when he gets in the car and he drives, when we go places, because then he would be on my deaf side if I drove. If he doesn't immediately turn the car on so that I can open the sunroof and open the windows, I feel like I'm suffocating. It doesn't even have to be scorching hot in there. It's just one of those things. About breathing, it's not necessarily like an anxiety attack like a lot of other people are having over these, but it's a similar kind of thing. I shouldn't have to fight for free air, to breathe fresh air. Neither should you. So I feel guilty that I caved and asked for a note. And that's where we're at. And what else do we do other than everybody's got to stand up and fight this together? I know I can't do it alone. I can't even get 425,059 signatures by myself. How am I going to fix all the tyranny that's happening on my own? I can't do it. I need you, and I need each of you to go get 300 people, at least, or 3,000 probably. But shoot, I was going to tell you something else about that would be really helpful for you to know. And it's been a long day, and I totally forgot. So, do you have a question?
Yeah, what made that guy loss or the barber loss? What made him his thing so unique that everything's turned around so quickly? And yet, even though we're assembling, doing petitions and things, we can't even get a hearing. What's the difference?
Well, it's because the state was suing him. He wasn't suing the state. Yeah.
What was the question?
The question was, why was Carl Menke's, the barber in Owasso, why was his case pushed through quickly when all these other cases are, coming to a screeching halt or, waiting for an eternity? And the answer is because it was the governor suing him. He was cited with misdemeanor citations as well as with the licensing issues, and so the state was suing him. So of course that goes faster, right? And I remembered for a fleeting second what else I was going to say. But.
Like, I know you just mentioned the website. We can go to the website to get information about what we can do as citizens or what we should be doing besides maybe passing these petitions. Is there anything else that you want us to do or that we can do?
A ton, but it's going to be stuff, what I'm about to say is going to make you feel like, it's not really going to make a difference. It's going to make a difference if you and everybody you know is going to do it. So what you need to do, and I don't know which legislators are here. I know what candidates are here, but not legislators. So hopefully I'm not offending anybody. You need to tell your legislators that they need to stop telling us we have to follow these illegal executive orders while the courts sort it out. We don't get our rights from a court. We got our rights from God. And they need to stand up and tell people that you have your rights from God. The governor has no right to take them away, and you need to do the right thing. So put the pressure on your legislators. I'm going to come to you in just a second. I'm going to answer her. It's going to give you a few things anyway. Emailing, calling, Facebook, tag them on Facebook, comment on their posts, blow them up on every Twitter, so every social media, go to all the coffee hours that they have, anything and everything you can to get in front of them, do that. Do it frequently. Be an irritant. Don't stop. And don't just reach out to yours. Reach out to, you have a state rep, you have a senator, reach out to the Speaker of the House, reach out to the Senate Majority Leader. I mean, reach out to the chair of the different committees. And reach out to all of them and let them know this is not okay. Let capitalism fix this to some degree. If you know of businesses that are supporting, like Mike, what was
The barber? It was gentleman's quarters.
the gentleman's quarters?
Yeah, on Port Sheldon.
On Port Sheldon to get a haircut. One of the guys working on my committee, the Restore Freedom Committee, wants a haircut. And he called around to see which places don't have a mask requirement. And I guess the gentleman's quarters, barber shop or whatnot on Port Sheldon, no masks are needed. Go to places like that. Find the places that have no mask requirement and go there. And then the ones that do have that requirement, do everything in your power to not go there. Whether it's a dentist's office that you normally go to, or whether it's a barber, or whether it's a grocery store. Honestly, those things, the more we can stand up together and do those things, the better. And then those people, maybe those business owners that are on the fence, and they're like, I don't know, I don't want to lose my license. Well, yeah, but if you lose every single customer you've ever had, what's going to be worse at that point? Can't really get your customers back, but an attorney can help you get your license back. Share the information. I can't obviously vouch for any other sources or sites out there that have information about things, but the RestoreFreedomMI.com, when I realized that we didn't have enough signatures to get it on and turned in by July 6th, then I spent the whole last week trying to figure out exactly how I can combine. I'm only one person, right? And I sleep between 2 and 4 hours every single night, and I have since April. One night I got 6 hours. That was great. And I punished my husband by making him stay up with me and working on stuff all night long too. I love you, Mike. Not that I'm advocating for this unhealthy sleep pattern, but so I'm only one person. I don't see a ton of other attorneys stepping up to take the cases, to offer advice, and maybe they're out there and I'm just not seeing them. But I feel like screaming at the top of my lungs, what are you guys doing? Where are you? Why are you out there drafting wills when everything, put aside your contract clauses for a minute and step up and do the right thing. But I just personally haven't seen that yet. So at any rate, I decided my whole law firm, my whole mediation practice that I've been doing, restorative justice, everything that I had just spent years fine-tuning and basically doing so I could have more time with my kids. I have 4 kids, and my youngest is gone. She's 6. Hey, did you lose my kid, Mike?
Went that way.
I saw my older one walk over there, but at least he's 16. So, I thought that I was going to be able to, rein it in, right? We need that balance in our lives. Well, I'm giving up all that stuff, refocusing my whole law firm stuff, and any of you might have known about the Stop COVID Chaos website I created after I spoke at the Capitol on April 30th. That's all going to be rolled into Restore Freedom at MI. all that stuff. Every single waking hour of my day is going to be geared towards either getting these signatures or answering questions and fighting for us here in Michigan. So, So I'm going to continue answering questions. We have a frequently asked questions page. A lot of it's about the petition right now, but please head over there, ask questions. I answer questions literally nonstop all day long. I still have probably 50 text messages in there from the last few days. I'm not the kind of person that doesn't answer a text right away. I open it, I answer it. I don't care if I like you or not. That's how I do things. And I'm so far behind, it's insane. But I don't always think of, oh yeah, I've had that question 50 times. Please, if you have a question on any of this, the constitutional stuff, the masks, or the petition, please go to that website, look through the questions that are on there. If you don't see it, oh shoot, that's another thing I gotta do. It's just that right now it's just a button to send us an email to ask us a question, which you can do, but I'm gonna try to make it easier on everyone and actually make it a form that's much easier and you can fill it in and send it and whatnot. But anyway, either way, ask those questions so we can start making sure that all of these common questions that you guys have, stuff that I might take for granted, is answered, and then you can turn around and share that information with other people. Share the videos if there's a video topic that you think would be helpful. Go ahead and try to get everyone you know involved in each of these petitions, because although getting rid of the governor, like I mentioned, is just going to give us Gilchrist if that's all we're doing, it will send a message, won't it? That, our governor, that woman from Michigan, has been in national spotlight, which she loves. Wouldn't that be great if the spotlight was showcasing how she's been removed from office for all of this? So let's make sure to get that done. And, the 1945 Act, it's like I said, we have a lot more to go, but if we can get that done, especially, I heard Stand Up Michigan's trying to do this in 60 days or something, even though they have the longer period of time as well. Maybe they'll find out it's on God's timing and not theirs. No, I'm just kidding. But, if we could get that done in 60 days, then shoot, let's keep going and let's get these other ones repealed too, right? So it's stuff that might seem simple. Here's what I would say on all the petitions. Most of my circulators, I say mine, I don't own anybody, but, I love them all. Most of the people that have come to me and said, hey, I just want to introduce myself, I'm one of the circulators, I am so thankful, blah, 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 blah. I've heard what you've been talking about, and I've gotten involved now. I've never done anything political, and I've never circulated a petition. I don't even like to talk politics, but I can't stand my children's future or my grandchildren's future heading down this road. That's a vast majority of the people we have circulating, even putting on whole events. Now, I'm not saying that every single one of you needs to be comfortable enough to figure out how to put on a whole event, although that would be great and we would get signatures a lot quicker. But every single one of you knows people. You have somebody that you work with, or you have a neighbor, or you have somebody you go to church with, or that person you often run into at McDonald's when you get a morning coffee, or whatever it is, at the grocery store, at the dog park. You know people. You might not know their name, you might not know anything about them, but they're people. And your first clue is if they're not wearing a mask. Honestly, I'd ask them. We actually finally got to start playing volleyball again, my husband and I, and those of you who know about sports, or especially volleyball, when you're done, you cross under the net and you high five, right? Well, the ones that want to chicken wing arm you, I'm like, okay, they're not going to sign. But the people that were actually like, yeah, all right, high five. You better believe I went to that team after the game and said, hey, here's a petition. I was there to play volleyball. It's my first thing that was not petition related or legal related in a long time, right? But you can't let that opportunity go. Hey guys, I see you like freedom, you like common sense. Do you want to sign my petition? And they did. And then the next week, which was a couple nights ago, we went again, and it's the same kind of thing. You utilize every single opportunity. The guy that called about the getting the haircut today, he's awesome. Think about this. A couple weeks ago, these people, a lot of the volunteers have been spending countless hours at my house. I should make them pay rent. But he ordered a pizza for all the volunteers that day. And the pizza guy came to the door, and he immediately was like, yeah, so about this petition, And he got the guy's signature before he left. It might seem simple, it might seem like one signature, but if every single person is doing that just here, just there, a little bit, every single person here, as long as you're over 18, you can collect signatures and you can make a difference. And for those of you who know more people, you'd be amazed. There are people that have gotten thousands of signatures on their own that are not the kind of people that go to huge events or anything. They're just talking to people they know, people they don't know, people walking down the street with an old mask on, right? So, and I actually, let me be honest, I went and spent time in downtown Detroit at Hart Plaza a couple weeks ago. Anyway, before, when we were still trying to, it was like the 2nd of July or something like that. Anyway, you can imagine that's not a huge conservative area. But as I stood there and we, kind of walked towards the road, wherever that, there's a T basically right there. We had a ton of people walking and driving by and checking out the big sign we had, and they kind of, what's this about, And once I explained it to them, and I said, now that particular one, I don't mean to knock the recall petition, but I said, this is not about the governor. This is about the legislature, the governor, the courts. This is about local school districts. This is about city council meetings. Every government entity that has gone wrong. They're not all bad, right? Just like we know that attorneys and cops and everybody in between, there's good ones and there's bad ones, right? So for the bad ones that give everybody else a bad name, this is a way to stop all that. This is a way to end that. This is a way to rein in that power that any government official in any capacity has tried to steal from us over time. It's not just about Governor Whitmer. And it isn't. My petition is not. And guess what? I had some staunch Governor Whitmer supporters wearing masks sign my petition. No problem. Many of them. In fact, one even said, can I do a Facebook Live video about you? This guy in a wheelchair. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he actually found me on Facebook and tagged me, and before I got home, my husband had seen the video. I mean, so the people that you can reach, it's amazing what you can do. Just make those human connections. So I gave you like 30 minutes of answering your question, but hopefully, I mean, you really can do something. You really can. All those things will make a difference. Definitely.
One of the things going out there is the Dorr construction site. We had to sit there from the my side, grab that today, and a lot of people on our side
You're talking about commercial construction sites? So commercial construction sites is the suggestion to collect signatures, but to any circulators out there, make sure you do have enough petitions for every single county, because they are county specific. So just like when we came here, I didn't know really what I was doing here, or what this was going to look like, or who would be here. I saw there were quite a few more cars than I expected. And so when we got out of the car, and I said, Mike, I don't know if we're going to have circulators here. Grab a petition. He grabs like 2 petitions. I'm like, based on the number of cars, the number of counties that might be here, could you grab a few more?
I grabbed 5.
And so that's the kind of thing, you need to be prepared. Always keep them in your car. Keep them in your purse if your purse is big enough. Definitely. I mean, this is carrying that is going to be just as important as for those people that think their mask is going to save them from COVID-19. Yeah.
I'm a member of the Michigan Home Guard. We've got like 5,000 or 6,000, 7,000 people in the Michigan Home Guard. If you don't know what it is, check it out.
I have appreciated the security that I've gotten at many of my events from them, as well as the other Michigan militia members. So
Absolutely. So what would be the steps in plain and simple layman terms for us to get those thousands of people in our groups, whether you're a group over here or a group over here? You got all these Facebook groups. Let's use that to our advantage. What are the simple layman terms of steps on how we can get these thousands of people to sign this?
Well, to be honest with you, so one way is many of you probably, just give me a quick show of hands. How many of you have heard Kevin Skinner's name? Okay, good. I was kind of hoping it'd be quite a few of you. Okay, so Kevin Skinner is not with Stand Up Michigan anymore, and not officially with Garrett Saldano. He was with Garrett with the original group, right, that had 407,000 people. I met him after that point, and then he kind of jumped on board with Restore Freedom Initiative, and then he kind of, not get burned out. It's just, there's a lot going on, right? So he's been kind of doing some other things to fight the freedom fight. However, he I've been talking with them because there's a page that many of you may know about, the movement group, I should say. It's not a page, it's the group. The page has like 400 people in it. The group has 70,000, and I know it could get much bigger. That's the kind of group, the whole purpose of it is I didn't realize, I'm going to be honest with you, that some of the admins that were on there that are part of our organization, I didn't realize that they had changed all the questions to be about the Restore Freedom petition, and some of the postings, I don't go on Facebook unless I'm doing videos answering questions. So we're going to change all that. I was actually trying to finish those questions or fix them on my way here, but I didn't have enough cell phone signal. Where are we? Anyway, when I get back home, and once I've eaten my, first main meal of the day, I'm going to try to do that. Anyway, it's going to be, the whole purpose of the group is to have a consortium, if you will, of all the grassroots organizations. So go and find the movement group that has, I want to say it's people on the steps of the Capitol is the picture, the banner behind it. And so Kevin, I was going to say Kevin Soldano. It's been a long day. Kevin Skinner is going to take ownership back of that group in the next couple days. And I'm going to make some posts in the next few days so people know that's not our page and directing them to our page if they want to like it. But that page is going to be where, I guess there's a new Impeach Whitmer group, and there's the Recall Whitmer, and there, the 1945, the Stand Up Michigan, all that stuff. That would be a one-stop shop to get all those people, whether it's, whatever you said, 5,000 people in Michigan Home Guard or what. That's going to be, in theory, a one-stop shop. He has promised me it'll be neutral people that are not on the board of any of these organizations. It's just going to be grassroots people managing that from now on. So hopefully within the next few days, it'll be a transition from the people that are on there. Not that they're bad. They're not bad. Most of them at this point are my people, so of course I like them. But it shouldn't be ours to then try to advertise all these other things. We need to focus on our thing and let some other people that are neutral have all that grassroots information being shared. So that's one way. Drive people there, as much as I hate Facebook. But get them involved in the different petitions. I mean, drive people to Restore Freedom MI. I'm trying to get all my social media, whether it's my Google business listing or the Catherine Henry for Michigan Facebook page, anything, my Twitter account, anything. I'm trying to route people back there. So I don't know all the websites for the recall, and I'm assuming stand up is standupmichigan.com or something like that. Just try to get people, you know what? We should probably have somebody willing to donate business cards with QR codes, maybe have a few different QR codes that lead to all these organizations. That would be one way to help get people involved here. Here, scan all these QR codes, join these. These are different petitions. These are ways that you can get involved. That might be one way to handle it. So hopefully that answers that. Since it's bedtime, I think I get to go home now, but do I need to answer anything else? I can. I certainly can.
Just speak. Stand up, Renee. Renee.
Say her name.
Hi. I just have a question on behalf of working for a small mom and pop shop. Can you hear me okay? Sorry. A little bit. I guess, what's your best advice to the business owners on how to handle this mask issue that she has put it back on the business owners to enforce it, and that she could close you down, and this is their livelihood? I guess that's working for them, my biggest question, because I definitely don't support it, but complying with it so they don't get in trouble.
One thing I want to point out about that is, yes, Governor Whitmer is evil, and she's doing this, but if anybody has not looked at Senate Bill 858 that the legislature passed on April 30th as the way to stop the governor's executive orders, that was a provision that they had in there, the legislature put in there, that aside from codifying 29 of her then current executive orders, people would have to wear masks, and it was going to be the business owners that were going to have to enforce it. And I stood in the hallway of the Capitol that day telling people about that very thing and how disgusting it was. And apparently it wasn't a problem for them to do it, but now it's a problem for Whitmer. We all think it's a problem. But I just want to make sure that we're aware we need to make sure that none of them do this. We can't keep our eye off of anything. We can't just think that Whitmer's the only one that's going to try to do this. As far as the licensing issues and all that goes, it is a hard question because we need to, number one, we need to support the businesses that are choosing to not require people to wear masks. Some are saying, hey, if you want to wear a mask, great. If you don't, fine. I'll assume you have a medical exemption. That may be their way around it, is to say, I don't have the right to ask you. No, it's not HIPAA that stops them. A lot of people think it's HIPAA. It's not. But they don't have a right to ask for those medical conditions. So they could put up signs that say that. Although the governor's office, basically through the governor, they're issued, I think they were sent emails, which is interesting because I'm a business actually, and I didn't get the email. They just knew. But there's some sort of thing that business owners a lot of them did get that are like, it's supposed to be not just suggested wording, like print this off and post this on your front door along with the other 17 signs that we've already told you have to put up that say, it's the law to wear a mask and whatnot. So support those businesses, help to make sure they understand what really is the law so they don't find themselves in trouble where they're going to get sued for discriminating against people. Here's something that I think would really help, and I did have somebody in Midland, and I wish I could remember her name because it was 2 days ago when I literally had 300 people call me and text me in one day. But she was a rape survivor, and she wasn't the only rape survivor that called me that day. And it was for those people, having a mask on is so much more than what other people even realize. I've had people who are veterans who have PTSD or something of that nature, and wearing a mask is something that's so much more than what a lot of people realize. Or people who are just victims of general physical assaults. I've had people call me that have had their skulls crushed in severe trauma situations, or people who have anxiety, or people who have autism, they're on the autism spectrum, or something of that nature. And there's so many things that, the world or Michigan is judging the people that are not wearing the masks. One thing we can do is, I think, now I can't take it on, because you might guess I've probably taken on more than I probably should have. We need to have a rally, and not one rally. We need to have a traveling rally. It can start in Grand Rapids and go to Lansing, go to Detroit, go everywhere in the state, explaining these stories to people, because I think you have a huge percentage of people in the middle that don't understand the way that these masks are impacting thousands, millions of people. When I had a client call me this week, because she doesn't have family or friends that were with her, she needed to go get an MRI to have surgery, and she's in the hospital, clearly disabled, on oxygen, has multiple, she's clearly disabled, there's no denying that. They were going to deny her the right to have her MRI without wearing a mask. And then they took her and they put her in the wheelchair, scooted her off to the side in the hallway and left her there because they weren't going to deal with her. So she calls me bawling. They're lucky that she was 2.5 hours away. I was going to be bailed out. I'm just going to tell you, to be honest. I wish I was joking. That was within 20 minutes of hanging up with her was when I got calls from 2 different rape victims that were calling me. It's been rough to hear people suffering, and I don't have good answers. I don't have good answers on the nursing home thing either. But we need to get those stories out there, because when this woman is shoved aside and told she can't get the medical care that she needs, which at this point is an MRI, how is she going to give somebody COVID in an MRI? How many people are supposed to be in the MRI unit with her? I'm pretty sure it's just her. And then patients are parading by and harassing her as she's left in the hallway by herself. And finally, God heard my screaming, and the hospital administrator knew that she had been recording, and that I had been on the phone, and I was getting ready to come up there. And they finally decided to let her have her MRI. How nice of them. But now she's even further traumatized, besides all the other things that she's had to deal with. Those stories need to get out there. So if you're here and you're willing to help, talk to people you know. You can send them my way, but really we need to find somebody who could be a central point and do a rally, a traveling rally, to get those stories out so people understand this isn't us being selfish because we're not wearing a mask, which isn't going to help us anyway, but I'll leave that to the PPE experts. We need to get the word out that way. There's probably 101 other things I didn't mention, and I'm sorry I don't have answers on the nursing home issue. It's just like masks. There is no easy answer. Who would have thought we would have had to argue these things? I will find a way. And I know it's a good thing I'm licensed all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, because I know I'm going to make it there, having to fight over this, which is devastating for me, because who would think how many people are going to have to die or commit suicide or whatever, because in the meantime our government is trampling over all of our rights, and people are literally suffocating wearing masks, having panic attacks because they've been a victim of violence and now they're forced to wear a mask to go to work or do whatever. I hope that we can find some other way around this, but I know that's probably where we're going to end up, and I'm not afraid to go there. I just don't want to have that many people suffer while it takes us the time to do it. So since I've taken way too much time, please know you can ask me any questions. It may take me longer than it has been to get back to you, but I will do my absolute best to answer each and every one of you. And just go to restorefreedommi.com, and that's going to be the easiest way to reach me. But I know that you guys have some awesome other speakers today, so I look forward to hearing them as well.
Friday, July 3, saying the Dorr parade was on, so thank you for doing that.